Welcome to JLive. I'm JArt's Executive Director, Laura Mandel, and it's great to be with you for JLive, our series of virtual cultural experiences that bring us together to explore and celebrate the diverse world of Jewish art, culture, and creative expression. We're bringing you bite-sized conversations with the best Boston area talent. Today, I'm with photographer Leann Shamash, who actually comes to art making following an accomplished career in Jewish education. And it's possible that you actually know Leann's work because there is a photograph that she took of her incredible mother, Irma G, in a pink pussy hat that went viral a few years ago. So this feels especially relevant this week. So welcome, Leann.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
It's wonderful to be with you. So start by telling us about your mom, Irma G.
So mom was, had 96 wonderful, wonderful years. Spirited years. She had dementia, and she died a few 10 months ago. And during her last year on this earth, I was taking a photography project at the Griffin Museum in Winchester. And for this project, we had to create a portfolio. And one day, the day that we had to announce our assignments, I sort of forgot that I needed to do it and ended up thinking, well, my mom always has this certain look when she puts her hats on, no matter how old she was, whether she was 60 or 70 or 80, she'd put a hat on and she'd go. And she'd look different. So it just came to my mind that Ma was at that point 95, that I was going to take pictures of her with hats of the past of the century. And I'd like to sort of go from that introduction of how we started this to tell you a little bit about this week's Parsha and say to you that this week's Parsha is called Parshat Vayera, and it's talking about Abraham. At the beginning of the Parsha talks about Abraham as the angels come in. And Abraham is sitting at the edge of his tent, and some people walk by. He notices them, he sees them, but he sees more than that. He notices that they're thirsty. He notices that they've been on a journey. He notices that they might need to clean up and sit down. Abraham was able to see things differently, to see deeper, not to just look past. And through these photographs that I took of my mom, I feel like my mom gave me a gift during her last year. And that gift was to be able to see her and to be able to see the elderly in a different way. I had always gone to see my mom every day. She was right here in Newton, and I could do that. And I was so lucky to be able to do that. But when we did this project together, the worlds opened up. And we had something to do together that was real, that was connected. And I was able to see her as a person again, not just as my mom in the nursing home, my mom, the 95-year-old. She was my mom, the actress, my mom, the center of attention. So I'd love to show you some of the pictures of her.
I'd love to see them. Countdown, they'll be up in a second.
So as they're putting them up, I'll start with this one. This one has a little bit of a history only because some people on Instagram happen to think that Ma looked pretty damn amazing. And,
and she does.
Yes, for a woman of 95. And I don't know exactly what it means to go viral on Instagram, but one night I was coming home from Acton in the car, and I was looking at my Instagram feed where Ma was, and it kept on going up and up and up, the number of looks. And it was like, Ma, you are famous. So in any case, some women's movements picked her up, and there were people who would say to her, I want to be just like Irma G. And so she became this little bit of an icon. And what an opportunity for a woman of 95 to have that identity. And, you know, the whole thing was very low tech. And you can see with my mom that I never tried to change anything about her. I never tried to pluck her eyebrows or pluck the hairs from her chin or hide the fact that she had black and blue marks, you know, from leukemia. This is who she was. And the way that I like to look at it is this was what made her character. This created her. And if you put a camera on my mom, it was as though she came to life. I have many pictures of her when the camera wasn't on her. But if we can go to the next photo and maybe scroll through a few of them, let me show you a variety of what was going on. Again, it was low tech. These photos were taken in mom's room, and we used a variety of scarves that were in her drawers and shawl hats that belonged to people in the community that sort of represented different decades. And together, we were able to put together what we believed would be this kind of walk through time, through the so this, for instance, is for me, this is Ma as Audrey Hepburn. This is Ma in the 1950s, early 1960s with her gloves. And again, we ran into her drawers, we pulled things out of her drawers, and we pulled these things together. But when Mom was in front of the camera, she was an actress. Her dad was a storyteller, and he used to read Shalom Aleichem, the Yiddish Shalom Aleichem. Cool. My mom was a storyteller. And through these hats, this was her story. And she just would go into series of joyful poses, pure joy. And I didn't need to say a lot to her in order to get this joy. She was filled with joy. And I have hundreds of pictures of her. This is Mom, I don't know, I'm thinking 1970s. We found the sunglasses, we put just a little bit of lipstick on her, and this is who she became.
And you can feel the joy, Leanne, you really can.
Yep, yep. And this one that's coming up next, at least I think it is, oh, there's one that's missing that I need to show you. It's missing, I want to see Irma in the shower cap because that's one of my favorites, and I feel like it would be helpful for you to see. Yeah. Do you see it? Because I don't see it.
We'll get it back up there in a second.
Okay. So in the meantime, I'll tell you about it because Mom.
Great.
When I was a kid, I used to think my mom was Lucy, but here she is. So this is one of my favorites. In terms of the photograph itself, I was never really happy with her coloring. I felt like it didn't work, but again, we used the scarf and we hung it on the wall. We put her in her nightie. We put her on her shower cap, and this is what she gave me. And this is what she gave, this is what she gave all of you. This was Lucy to me. She was Lucille Ball in this picture. And you can see, you can see who my mom was. You can see that she was a comedian. You could see that she wanted the camera to be on her, and that although she was 95 at the time, in her heart, she was a child. She was a kid. She was always young. And that's how, when I see these pictures now, she'll always be young to me.
It's such a beautiful use of photography, Leanne. I love how you brought that all together. And I think it's really beautiful that you actually turned this project, or sort of shifted from this project into another. And I'm just going to repeat what you said because I thought it was so beautiful when you're talking about the Torah portion, or just this concept of how we don't look past these people, we're looking at the elderly. And I love how you took that concept and turned it into your next project called The Beauty of Aging. So can you talk to us a little bit about that project?
Oh, I'm happy to, because when I finished the project with Mom, it taught me something very real, which is we don't see the elderly. They don't live in our lives for the most part, unless we have them living in our household. But many of them are like my mom was, living in senior centers, and we just don't see them. Where are they? And when I saw Mom, I really saw her. I saw her beauty at 95. And I wanted other people to be able to have that experience. I wanted to be able to go in and pay attention and talk and make somebody feel beautiful for a few moments and take their photographs. So I worked at Orchard Cove in Canton with them to do this project called The Beauty of Aging. And I went into Orchard Cove and was able to photograph many, plus a number of other people. And before the pandemic began, my work was in taking photographs of people in their 90s and asking them, and this was really important, not just for their photos, but also for their story, to give the advice to somebody in their 20s, to give advice to somebody who's just starting off in the world. So I'm happy to show you some of those photos. So I'm just, there we go. So
That's great.
if you could scroll just through them, I will talk in general about them in a minute. This is George, and he's in his early 90s. And this was Mary. Mary's gone now. And this is Bobby. She's, as far as I know, she's good. She's good. And this is Mel, one of my favorites. He's good. He's fine. Still at Orchard Cove. This is Anton, and he's gone now. And this is Midge, and it somehow she's gotten a little squashed. It feels like in the image, but Midge was the first person I took. I didn't shy away from people's lines and wrinkles. I didn't shy away from their age spots. And I tried with each one of them to find a way to incorporate what their lives are now. And if you end up at some point going to my website, there are many more photographs of people in their 90s. You know, it became an image, it became powerful to see that family, children, grandchildren, they're all part. Our pasts become paramount as we get older. And this is the kind of advice that I got from people. So I'm going to give you some advice now. So this is from Trudy, age 100. Worry about other people other than yourself. You shouldn't be thinking of yourself all the time. Whatever you do, do to the best of your ability. Take each day as it comes. Follow your heart. Figure out what you want to do. Find out what it is and then plan on it. And then wait, I want to give you a couple more here. Be honest and treat people the way you would want to be treated. Don't let life pass you by. Get involved. Keep your wallet open and your mouth shut. Live every minute as best as you can. Never say no. Always say yes before you know where you're going. Stay connected to your family. Don't be judgmental. Be active. Be fruitful and multiply. So those were some of the things, wow, some of the gems. And I think that the photography project for me, it changed over time. It was, yes, the photographs were important, but what became really important was documenting people's stories and advice. And I was so enriched by this experience. I was so fortunate to be able to do it. And unfortunately, I had to stop because of COVID. And a number of people who I took pictures of are gone now. I mean, they were in their 90s, but they're not here, which also teaches me that I was able to have the zechut, to have the privilege of sitting with them during their last years. So,
well, and Leanne, I think it's really incredible how you really are showing those lessons that you're telling us through these photos. I mean, what could be better than the lesson of say yes, right? Too many people say no, say yes. And you can see in these faces and in these smiles that they've led lives where they have said yes.
Yes, and all of them are different. I never got the same piece of advice twice. And that was, to me, very interesting.
I love that. It's beautiful. All right, so tell us, with just our few minutes left, tell us more about the project you're working on right now, because I think it feels like every project you've done is sort of leading to the next. So tell us about this 9 Women project.
So my 9 Women project is a photography project that I'm trying to sort of organize, where I have 9 women from age 17 through 92, each representing a different decade. And I'm asking all of them to document their lives through photography and also writing. And I have a website that I'm trying to build up, which is called 9women.net, where I have them tell their stories. They are not photographers. They are ordinary people. So this becomes more, and the stories are small, or the stories are very large. But what I start to be able to see is how certain ages are dealing with loneliness, and how certain ages are so overwhelmed with work that they don't know where to go, that they don't know how to do childcare and work, and loneliness. And so I'm hoping to find commonalities and differences over the population. And I'll just tell you really quickly, because I know we're going to leave, that my own project, because I'm one of the 9 women, is called The Memory Room. And my Memory Room project is trying to capture and photograph saying Kaddish for my mom at Kehillat Israel in the morning at their minyan, and photographing the people who I spend every morning with, who are also saying Kaddish in the absence of an in-person minyan for other people, for their families and their loved ones. So my project is documenting the memory room. So
that's so beautiful, Leanne. And I think we have some photos that we can show as well. And I think while we're going through those, something that really strikes me is that you're talking about the mundane. And I think especially in this moment, we all need to really be able to look at the mundane and find something special. And I love how you reference Heschel, and you talk about radical amazement.
Well,
you know, and
you're absolutely right. And for instance, this young woman is 17 and she's documenting growing plants. Radical amazement is not in the big things in this world, it's in the tiniest things. And being able to see, I might not be a technically skilled photographer, but I want to be able to see. I want to see the small. So let's go through these really quickly. This is my 20-something-year-old in Washington, D.C. as a lawyer. And you can keep going because I'll go super quick. This is my 30-something, a teacher in New York City. And each one of these have stories. So this is my 40-something who is a teacher with children in Greater Boston. And it's the story of her kids during this time. And you can keep, and this is my 50-something who is working on social action and food saving during this time.
I just have to say, I love that BH sign. I thought that was so clever, and I hadn't seen it before you showed me this photo, and now I've been seeing them all over Brookline, and I think it's just a fabulous photo for this moment.
Yes, you bet, you bet. And this is one of my photos from the memory room of one of the people saying Kaddish. And the next person is doing Shabbat online and what it's like at home for Shabbat. And the last, this is a woman in her 80s in San Francisco documenting her days. And the last picture is my friend Bernice at Orchard Cove in Canton and documenting what it is to live in a senior community at this point. That's it.
Leanne, these are beautiful. Not the photography itself is beautiful, but the stories are just incredible. Thank you so much for sharing these with us. I think we have a few questions here. We don't have much time, so I guess one question I think is simply, were there others in the Irma G series that you didn't show us that you particularly love, or other things that you think you kind of were able to raise about your mother in this process that were really special to you?
There are a lot of pictures of mom in hats, many. And there are most of them, not all, are on my website. But then there are
Great.
other pictures as well that showed her when she wasn't in her hats. I chronicled Mom's life during her last couple of years. I took a lot of photographs of her. I hope that gives you an answer.
Absolutely. And for anybody who's curious, your website is?
Leanne Shamash Photography. Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Great. Well, Leanne, this has been wonderful. I think this is the little bit of inspiration and joy that we've all been needing. So thank you.
My pleasure.
I just want to note, as Irma and her hat will say, this is the week. Please, if you haven't already, please go out and vote tomorrow. It matters.
It does.
And last but not least, of course, as the JArts tagline says, let culture connect us. JLive and other JArts programming are made possible by generous support like all of yours. So if you like what you see, I hope you will support us and pay it forward so we can make even more JLive conversations and more possible. So Leanne, thank you so, so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.